What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blood Splatter Chatter Live. We continue March Madness tonight with a look at one of my favorite mad scientist films, Stuart Gordon's From Beyond. Yeah, buddy. What's up? What's going on, everybody? We got Phable and Lynk with us. Phable, how we doing, my brother? How we doing?
Good, my brother. Good. Happy to be here.
Hell yeah. Everybody make sure you're checking out tomorrow night. Or no, we're on Wednesday. I keep on being screwed up. Friday night, 9 Eastern, hashtag blame Phable and his amazing friends. Where I'm just going to guess you're probably going to find Missing Link as well. He's there most of the time, but maybe, maybe not. But what up, Steph? Welcome back to the show. Long time no see. You're on mute, my friend. I should have just ventriloquist. Thanks for having me, Verno. You're the best.
Yeah, I was going to say, glad to be here once again. Excited to chop it up with you fellas as always.
Hell yeah, man.
Do this.
I gotta say, man, Steph and I had a fantastic double feature conversation on Sunday for March Madness, man. Suitable Flesh and It Comes Down at Night. If I can say so myself, we broke them the fuck down. We had a really good conversation. So if you've seen those flicks, or if you haven't, I recommend checking them out and going checking out the conversation Steph and I had on Sunday. So all right, let's get into this thing. As I said, we're in March Madness. This is, as I'm picking it out, I need one, as I'm picking out the lineup for March Madness, I should say. I'm like, I need one mad scientist film. So I'm searching the whole horror genre. I was going to do Reanimator, which is Stuart Gordon's first film. But for whatever reason, I'm like, oh, that's such a big name. I want to save that. I'm like, let's do From Beyond. And then as I'm watching the two, like, dude, From Beyond this is the one. I mean, I love Reanimator. This is his more popular film.
I know.
Reanimator.
So
it's
weird.
way more popular. And it's great. Like, I really enjoy it. What's that?
Is Crampton in Reanimator? Barbara?
Yeah, it's one.
Okay.
This is one thing why they're a really nice pairing is because Jeffrey Combs plays the mad scientist in Reanimator. And this roommate that he moves in with, his girlfriend is Barbara Crampton. So they kind of switch roles in this one, where in a way, Barbara Crampton, you could consider her the mad scientist of this film, or one of the mad scientists, along with Dr. Pretorius. And where we have Jeffrey Combs is kind of, in a way, he's the victim. That's what Stuart Gordon, when he's talking about it, he refers to him as the victim. And he is, but he's also the monster, which makes him a fairly interesting creature. Speaking of fairly interesting creatures that some people might call a monster, Stu's in the motherfucking house. What up, Stu?
Nice intro, station, fellas.
Hey, whoa. Did somebody kidnap you, bro? You okay?
More or less, bro. I'm in the office. I'm in my little office at work, man.
Something if you're okay, bro.
No, I'm okay, man. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm in the office at work, and hold up over here by the dish machine. So hopefully I'm not too loud for y'all.
That's commitment. That's commitment. You're you look good. You got a nice little gleam of sweat on your face and in your hair that I actually really appreciate. I'm glad you could make
Thanks,
it,
buddy. Glad to be here.
Had you seen this one? We'll start there. First time watch for everybody but Phable?
Yeah, first time watch for me.
Hell yeah. All right, well, fucking let's just we'll start out here. I was going to talk a little bit about Stuart Gordon. Like, the more that I watch these like documentaries and the commentary, the more I like the guy, the more I like really respect, especially what they did in the mid 80s with Reanimator and From Beyond. Dolls, I still have not come around to just yet. I did rewatch it again just to be like, oh, I've really gotten into these first two Stuart Gordon movies. Let me see if I can get into Dolls. It's not happening. It's just, I don't know. It's not there. But basically, with the success of Reanimator, Stuart Gordon was just this dude that him and his wife had bought a theater in Chicago in like 1969, and they were running this theater, working with a bunch of actors. And Brian Usna is the producer on this film. He is a pretty important filmmaker in his own right. He did The Fly 2, which I know Phable is one of your favorite movies. He did Society. And when you look at his movies and you look at these movies, you can tell Brian Usna's influence on these movies. Because like all that gooey goop and all the practical effects, not that he's the one making the practical effects, but it's clear that he's the one that's into that shit. And that's like having people make those and put them in the movies, because his movies are the gooeyest, gnarliest, nastiest shit you'll ever see. But it really reminds me, especially of From Beyond. But basically after the success of Reanimator, Stuart Gordon was offered a 3-picture deal with, I think, Empire was a studio. So he signed the deal. All right, I'm going to do 3 pictures. And then afterwards, they tell him, oh, by the way, you're filming all these in Rome. So they shipped him and his family and his friends off to Rome. Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, and Ken Foree came with them. And what's cool about it is he gets there and he realizes the crew takes it so seriously in Italy. Like everything to them is high art. Like they're not looking at this as some schlocky 80s movie. Like it's important. It's a piece of art to them. And in my opinion, that's why I think he steps his game up from Reanimator to From Beyond, just like stylistically and just like technically. It's much smoother. It's a more well-written story. They kind of mash together what they originally wrote Reanimator as was a 6-episode series for PBS. And then they started making it into a film and they were mishmashing a bunch of stuff. So it's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not down talking Reanimator, but it's more raw. It's more rough and ready, a little bit more sloppy, some might say, than what I find From Beyond to be for sure. So let's get into it. Phable, I'm glad you could join because you're the only one that I know for sure at least enjoys the movie. You mentioned a couple weeks ago. I don't know what Steph and Stu might think. You might not like it, and I would totally be understanding if that was the case. But Phable, what is your overall thoughts on the rewatch?
This movie definitely has grown on me over the years. When I was a kid, this was a movie that was popular, in the B movie, video cassette horror movie stuff in that world. It was a popular movie, both Reanimator and this one. But when I saw it as a kid, I didn't get it. Right? I was just like, this shit is just weird. This lady's crazy. I don't know what's going on in this movie. But I recently rewatched this movie maybe about a year or two ago, and I think it was for Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm not 100%, or it might have been Dylan's Horror Show.
They did it 2 years ago for March Madness on PSVP.
Yeah, okay. So I rewatched it at that point, and I was like, man, this is really good.
Hell yeah.
This is a lot better than I remember, and it's probably because I'm an adult now and I get some of the themes and I know what's going on, and all the filmmaking stuff. So it really grew on me, and on this watch through, I'll say, Lovecraftian stuff is tough to do, right? It doesn't always come across well. Like you got to be really skilled to break down or try to bring the themes of Lovecraftian horror over because it's so fucking weird, right?
Right.
And I think this is one of the most successful examples of doing it right. Like, honestly. So yeah, man, I like this movie a lot.
Hell yeah, dude. I love to hear it. This is like one of my favorite descriptions of Lovecraft that I've heard. I heard recently was like sci-fi is about the hows and whys of things. It's like things that can be explained, and Lovecraft is the things that can't be explained. And that's why a concept like From Beyond is so perfectly Lovecraftian. It's about the beyond. It's literally the place that we can't get to. Even if you go there, you can't because it's beyond. You know what I mean? So it really is. It sums it up well. And that is something you hear a lot is it's Lovecraft is unfilmable. And it's partially because, and I haven't read more than 1 or 2 of his stories, but from what I hear, a lot of times in his stories, he'll be describing things and he'll say, it is undescribable. And it's kind of like a shortcut of him not having to describe things, but it's what makes him him, I suppose. Yeah. But Steph, my brother, first time watch, what did you think, my friend?
I enjoyed it. I maybe it's because of Suitable Flesh, but I mean, I thought they had a really cool aesthetics. First off, I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, bro, because we just discussed The Host over on Robbie's channel on Monday, and while I love that movie and I respect what they did for the time, I still I don't not like how the monster looks, but it's not aged well. For 2006, it's not aged well. This movie holds up damn near 40 years later. I don't know when this came out, but everything, there's an aesthetic to it that really holds well. But onto the Suitable Flesh part, there's a cheesiness to it and a sexiness to it.
Right.
And I enjoy those two together. And this man, Barbara Crampton, I was kind of thinking like, yo, she's kind of attractive in the Suitable Flesh, but she's a babe in this one, bro. She's a babe.
40 years.
This movie was Oh God. But no, this was enjoyable. It was like Phable was saying, you were saying, it's hard to really encompass like Lovecraftian vibes and themes and execute them well. And this movie, it had just that tinge of madness that I associate with like Lovecraftian things, and
Right.
it got that across very well. So I appreciated that. But yeah, overall, I had a good time with this one, man. I was surprised. I was gonna say shocked, but I was surprised.
Hell yeah, man. I'm really glad you brought up Suitable Flesh, just for especially like if you clicked on this video because you're a fan of From Beyond and Stuart Gordon and you've never seen Suitable Flesh, which came out on Shudder just a couple weeks ago. It's from 2023. You got to check it out. Like we said in that show, it's a spiritual successor of this. And Steph, do you remember like in that Barbara Crampton's character, she's saying to Heather Graham's character, "You helped me out with that thing back in the day, sisters forever," or whatever. Like I feel like basically I should clarify a little bit more. The writer of Suitable Flesh wanted to have it the exact same character from this movie. Barbara Crampton's character be in that movie, but they couldn't do it for legal reasons.
Right.
So they just like gave her a different name, but that's her. She's wearing the big glasses and everything, and she talks about some trauma in her past. Well, clearly, like this is the trauma that they're talking about in Suitable Flesh. So they tie together so nicely, dude. So I'm really glad you were able to check that one out first, man. But Stu,
Yeah, it was cool to
Okay.
My bad. Now I was just gonna say real quick, it was cool to because when we had talked about it for Suitable Flesh, I didn't know the context of certain things or couldn't make connections. So it was cool to see that spiritual successor, as you were saying. But yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Now, Stu, my brother, this is what I was thinking. I was like, you know what? I might have already blown the wad on like the two most fun fucking 80s movies for you already that you haven't seen. Because in my opinion, it's probably Return of the Living Dead and From Beyond, and like, maybe throw Reanimator in there. There's a couple other ones. There's better 80s movies. There's like The Fly, and there's The Thing, and there's shit like that. But as far as fun 80s cheese, I think From Beyond and Return of the Living Dead are about as good as it gets. But what did you think of this one?
First off, I appreciate you putting me on game, dude. Like regardless if I'm hitting the highs too early, it's all good because I loved it. I thought it was a great movie, top to bottom. I thought like when the credits were rolling and I just saw the 6, 7, 8 people in it, you really don't think about it at the time, but it's a great little self-contained story just with the characters that we have. Dude, practical effects off the chain in this one. I mean, so good, especially that first scene where he's like ripping off his face and he's really just like, doing that mind melt on them. I love the practical effects time and time again. I love the pineal gland and how it's got that alien-esque, like, yeah, man, it's so great.
Is that how you pronounce it? I always hear people say pineal, but you kind of lean into the penis of it all.
Pineal. I feel like, especially the way it's coming out of the forehead, we need to call it pineal.
Something sexual about
dude
that.
You know what's funny about me, man? I almost never pick up in a movie when something is supposed to be obviously phallic. Ever. Like I'm never the guy that's like, oh, that's like a penis. I'm not the Jonah Hill from Superbad.
It's like me with Jelani, like my first PCP movie night. It's just like, you know what I mean? But dude, I thought it was great. I love what Lynk said about like the awkward sexiness in it. I thought it was weird, but at the same time it worked for me. I don't know. And all the character performances were pretty solid, man. Especially the crazy mad scientist. I know homeboy who's the director played the main character, whatever, but I thought he did a solid job, a passable job. Jeffrey Combs or whatever, isn't he like involved in the my bad.
No.
Okay. Well, okay.
As far as I know, no. It's Stuart Gordon is the director. Brian,
but the main guy who played the main character, he's famous
for that. He's famous for being Herbert West in Reanimator, basically.
Okay, my bad. All right. Yeah, but I thought like I don't know. It seemed from like things I had read that some people had issues with his acting, but I thought it was good.
Okay. Well, let me. It's kind of funny. Like a couple years ago, it was like a thing. It was like a PCP bit where on a live stream, one of Robbie's live streams, I had just watched Dolls, my first Stuart Gordon experience. Didn't like it. This fucking movie sucks. And he'd been all talking about Stuart Gordon. I think this is when he was doing From Beyond.
Right.
And I watched From Beyond, and I was like, I don't think my quote is, I don't think I like this Stuart Gordon guy. And part of it was because this is why I think like it's good to watch Reanimator first, because it introduces you to Jeffrey Combs and Herbert West and his over the top acting style.
Right.
So, and it's more palatable and more like understandable. He is the mad scientist in that movie. So you get it. And he's like, clearly it's like an undeniable performance in that movie. It's amazing. So then when you see him in From Beyond, you're like, oh, it makes everything click. You're already used to his acting style and it makes it fit in better. And that's when I fell in love with From Beyond, is after finally watching Reanimator and then revisiting it.
Oh, okay, my bad. Well, yeah, it seemed like the name was a celebrated one, so I thought it had something to do with production of the movie. But yeah, overall, loved it, man. I thought, and the color palette, I love the purples and pinks. Like I love that pseudoscience where, you know, like we crack a hole in something that we're really not supposed to, and it just kind of goes awry, like a la The Fly and all those movies we've already referenced. But yeah, dude, this was a blast. So much fun.
Hell yeah, my brother. Hell yeah. I'm glad you all seem to enjoy the thing. So let's dig a little bit deeper into it. I was thinking about how to go through this one. I really think if we just we've already touched on the characters a little bit, but I think maybe like through the characters, we can get into the ideas a little bit about like who is reaching beyond, who is the good guy, who's the bad guy, who are the mad scientists in this, all that. Cause it's everybody's in a little bit, has their toes in both pools, I suppose, if I can make that metaphor work. But overall, Phable, what did you think of the cast? So let me just lay it out before we get into it. We mentioned Barbara Crampton. We mentioned Jeffrey Combs. We've got Ken Foree, who is like just a treat to have in this movie. People would know him from Dawn of the Dead, or if you're a newer horror fan, my introduction to the dude was in Devil's Rejects, man. He's Captain Spaulding's like brother. He's the one that he goes and hangs out with at the strip club. He's running around with like C-3PO and all these hookers and shit. But yeah, Ken Foree, he's like, to me, he's like a light. He's the normal guy in this movie, and he's just like kind of keeps things light. And then we have Dr. Pretorius, played by Ted Sorrell, and then I just threw it in there, Dr. Block, played by Carolyn Purdy Gordon, who's Stuart Gordon's wife, who appears and gets killed in almost all of his movies. That's kind of one of his things. This is the first movie that he killed her in, and he's like, you know what? I like that. I'm going to kill you in all my movies. So it's kind of their thing.
It's cathartic for a relationship. Yeah,
right. It kept them going. They stayed married until he passed away. But Phable, what do you think of the cast, brother?
Oh, it's great. I love this cast. Reanimator, it's one of my favorites too. I do like From Beyond better. So seeing Crampton and Gordan together again, I mean, I think it's a great, 1-2 combination just for that. Ken Foree, like you said, come on, man. Like, guy's a legend. I love dude.
Hell yeah.
And I even love the wife. Because she just looks like a
bitch.
Yeah.
She's got one of the worst cases of resting bitch face ever.
Yeah.
That's why she's great in Dolls. She plays a straight bitch in Dolls.
She remind me of Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
Like heavy vibe.
But ironically, she's the one that, is the good guy ultimately, really, because she called it from the very beginning. Everything she said, happened, and she was trying to make it right, but somebody's got to die in one of these movies, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny about her character that I noticed on this rewatch? There's something that Herbert West does in Reanimator when the first time that you meet him, he's being introduced to like his teacher, who's this like famous doctor, and he's calling him out like, you ain't shit, like right in front of making everybody else around him uncomfortable. That's what she does. She meets the girl wonder, Barbara Crampton's character, and she's like being rude to her and calling her out and making the guy that's introducing them together like uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, is that like a Stuart Gordon trope? Is that like, does he have a fear of awkward, you know what I mean, social situations like that? But do you have anything else you want to throw in there, Phable?
No, it's just great. If you enjoy the cast of Reanimators, it's definitely a continuation of that, and
right,
I'm into it. I like it.
With-
You know, I mean, listen, it's not the greatest acting in the world.
Right.
My man, what's his name? I'm sorry, you guys said his name. The mad scientist.
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs. Jeffrey Combs has basically one expression to this movie.
Right.
He's like
maniacal.
Right. What's weird about him? I haven't seen enough of his career to really, he pointed out, like, isn't he the dude from The Frighteners? Yeah. And in Frighteners with Michael J. Fox, 90s flick, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he's pretty much playing like these characters. He's playing that over the top guy.
Yeah.
But he's also famous for playing a shitload of Star Trek characters.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
He's a favorite of mine from The Next Generation. Absolutely.
Oh no, that's cool.
He's played 9 different Star Trek characters across 4 different series.
Yeah,
and that's why he always gets referred to as a chameleon, which is funny to me because everything I see him, he's like Jeffrey Combs. So you know what I mean? I know I've seen him in Star Trek and just not remember that that's who it was, or didn't know who it was at the time. But,
absolutely. Yeah. But I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all in Reanimator or this movie for some reason. It just goes.
Right.
I don't know.
It's because it holds a tone. They're all doing it.
Yeah.
They're all fucking doing it.
Yeah.
But Steph, what'd you think of the cast?
I thought they did a fine job. I can't get too deep on it. I don't, it wasn't a deep movie like that. But you guys said it best. I think they were all on the same level of approaching the material as to like how serious to take it. The cheese was sold just enough by everybody, and when they had to be dramatic or over dramatic, it was sold just enough with mostly between Barbara Crampton's character and the main dude. They're the ones that had the super dramatic cheesy moments, but like Phable said, it works. It's not over the top. We're like, oh, what the fuck is going on? Like, it fits the vibe of the movie. Highlight for me was I think it might be a general thing for everybody, but the Duke dude, he's got a nice charisma to him. What's his name in the movie? Duke?
Oh, Bubba. Ken Foree? Yeah.
Bubba, yes, Ken Foree. Yeah.
Cooking people
he's got
dinner
charm
and
to
shit.
Him, tackling dudes down the stairs in these fucking orange undies.
His underwear.
This is
you laid that man out, bro.
Down the stairs, bro.
He just saw him running. And he was like, "I'm just tackling this dude. He's definitely up to no good." Like,
I thought that was so silly. One night, I'd be like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He's like, "No, fuck it, I'm tackling." Yeah, it was a strange decision. You can tell from his football playing days, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reaction time, baby.
Right.
But I think everyone did a fine job. It wasn't jarring, or you could tell everyone, like I said earlier, they were on the same page. It's not like someone was trying to take this too serious, or they didn't know what movie they were in. Everyone knew what they were doing. They knew their jobs, and they executed it well.
Right. Hell yeah, man. Dude, it's so like I'm in the middle of watching Jacob's Ladder, which is the film that we're going to be talking about next week. We're actually recording it tomorrow, which is why I was watching it. But it's like there's not to compare those two movies, but that is a movie with actors, and they're like acting like Hollywood actors, or like a mainstream drama film. But it's like this is obviously worse acting, but in a way it's not worse. It's like you can't compare the two things. They're trying to do something different. If you walk in playing like you're in Jacob's Ladder in this movie, you're gonna look weird. It's like, what you know what I mean? So it's like you had to find the right guys. I will point out before I send it to my boys too. How about the fucking cop? Did you guys notice or take note of the cop with the trench coat? He was evidently some American guy that they found over in Italy, and he's like the worst actor ever. He's really bad and over the top. And it's like, where the fuck did they get this guy? Yeah, he stands out as being so straight.
So
at one point, he turns around with his back to the camera like he's overly dramatic. He's like telling it behind. I don't know. It's very awkward. But what's up, Stu?
Where did the Rome, like the stipulation that they had to film in Italy, come from? Was that was that the studio that put that in the contract, or him? Did he want to shoot over there?
I don't see. It's funny, man, because I don't think it was in the contract, but from the way he tells the story, he didn't find out until he signed the contract. But it was from the studio. Charles Band is,
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's either Charles Band or Richard Band, who I think also does the music. It's something I meant to look into because I know he's like the producer of the film, and then I kept seeing his name as the music, and the music's fucking great in this too. And I was like, oh, he's a talented individual. But
Okay.
Stu, you got any thoughts on the cast?
I mean,
there?
I think the guys have said it already. Yeah, I think it's, you know, like I said before, it's a small, tight cast, but I think everybody does their job well. Like, granted, there's definitely some overacting and laughable parts, but I feel like for the most part, it's grounded in halfway decent, halfway believable performances.
Mhm.
I think Ken Foree is a good anchor for like the whole thing. And like the guy you think is like, you know, definitely think like he's gonna flip when she's all in the bondage gear and like you definitely think he's gonna go across. But I love how he's like the kind of like the moral center there, and he's trying to like keep everybody straight. Of course, like the way he goes out is awful and awesome at the same time. But yeah, I think
that
like,
was
I don't know.
the best
I think
kills of the movie, bro.
dude, that's so great, man.
It was a little
It's so
quick
great.
too. I was like, oh damn. Like when I rewatched, I'm like, oh, this happens earlier than I wanted it to in the movie. I would like to have him stick up because he is a highlight. I would like to have him for a little longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is one
But
of the
yeah, I think
highlight moments.
Yeah, I think everybody, and especially I thought I would have loved to honestly had more of Dr. Pretorius or whatever, like the evil mad scientist. I thought that guy was like pitch perfect. I know he was kind of turning into more of a grotesque like a figure / amalgamation of like the dimension he was interacting in, like the more we saw him. But like I wish it would have been a little bit slower getting there because I just loved him in his awful human form. I thought he was such a great mad scientist. But yeah.
Yo, bro.
Hell yeah.
He gave me like anime villain vibes. Like he reminded me of like Frieza or somebody from Dragon Ball Z. Just like you know, he didn't have that tone, but
I love that little detail. Like they dropped about his sexual incompetence. Like his little assistant said, like, you know what I mean? Like I just thought that was like a nice little bit of character building that like kind of made you understand his fucked up psyche a little bit better. I don't know. That was cool.
I was gonna say Akira. Tetsuya or Akira.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
That monster.
Vibes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you brought him up though, because he's the one that we hadn't mentioned, and he's maybe the MVP of the movie in a lot of ways. Like his performance, he absolutely like crushes it. I guess the original Lovecraft story is only like 7 or 8 pages long, and it basically tells the story of what we see in the opening scene with his character going crazy and then going from beyond, and then it looks like his assistant, who actually in the story is like his rival or whatever, they think he killed him at the end, but he just went beyond. But yeah, he murders it in the film. It, like when he becomes the creature at the end and he's got the pineal coming out of his head, a big thick fat pineal gland. Like yeah, he's absolutely he's brilliant.
Yeah, how many hours did he spend in the makeup chair?
A lot. Yeah, they talk about that a lot.
What?
About just, I guess he was like a total fucking trooper, never complained, never nothing. They
because it just got, I know it got worse and worse for him. Like it was just more and more each day.
He the other thing I was gonna say, it reminds me of Hellraiser. Like this is in line with that kind of a film where you've got this guy that it's the same concept in Hellraiser where you've got this thrill seeker that wants to go beyond. He starts going into the dark magics and looking for ways to get beyond what human capabilities are. Speaking of that, like this is a tricky thing to kind of touch on. I'll just kind of throw this out as a random question that anyone wants to jump in and we can maybe discuss it. But just like the concept of the movie, I guess I didn't really explain it, where it's they've built this machine where if you turn it on, all of a sudden we can see things that are in other dimensions. We can see other dimensional planes. If you keep still, they can't see you. But there's basically like these monsters floating around and whatnot. But just the idea of wanting to reach beyond the human capabilities and what we can sense, which immediately makes me think of like, dude, have you not ever tried LSD or fucking mushrooms? That's pretty much what's going on. You know what I mean? That's the way I've always looked at it. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I can perceive things in a completely different thing. And like, that's always there. That world that you're in is always there. It's just, we don't have, we're not connected. We can't, you can't access that world that always does exist. You listen to that song. I've listened to the song 500 times. Why does it sound so fucking different right now? Because of this. It's because my senses have been altered. And just the idea that, like, yeah, we evolved all this shit. There's animals floating around in the ocean that have sonar capabilities and other senses that we don't have. And just to think, like, what is out there? Like, we could just the fact that we can turn on tools that can sense things that we can't. We could see so much more. We could see beyond. But anybody have any thoughts on the concept?
We have the capability physically. We just haven't reached our full potential of even our capabilities as human beings, and this is tapping into that.
Right. Well, there's part of it that we haven't evolved to, but then the acid and the drug thing, and like the way that like people can get themselves into a certain state of mind that they can access that shit. So you are right. There is that we do have the equipment to access things that we're not accessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, also, I thought it was super dope.
To comment on what you were saying, I think this movie is very successful at that, like giving you those ideas of another dimension, of another plane.
Nick, grab the shades and the dude. It's about to.
But yeah, the concept of this movie is, I think, what is its driving force. I think that's what makes you want to keep watching. In a lot of ways, it's just such a cool idea. Like, yeah, that idea of being able to see in another dimension, another, you know what I mean, another plane of existence, another reality, and then using tuning forks and all of that, like, kind of concept and stuff to tune with your frequencies. I mean, it's plausible in a lot of ways. I don't know how true it is, but it definitely is like plausible. You know, it's like Jurassic Park when they told you, oh yeah, we mix some toad DNA from some mosquito blood and all. Yeah, it's like, that'll work, even though it doesn't work.
It's so convincing though. It was like, I remember the first time we all saw that, we're like, well, hot diggity damn, when are we doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of those things.
Oh, quick.
No, I was just gonna say, like, at one point they looked into it. And they know that there are more dimensions. There's up to 7. There's like at least 7 or 8, or sometimes you'll hear crazy numbers about the amount of dimensions that there are. And who knows? You know what I mean? Which we don't know. What's up, Steph?
Yeah. No, this is just random advice. Would you guys consider that Annihilation movie with Natalie Portman like Lovecraftian?
I haven't seen it, but I've been dying to fucking see it. I know it's really. They say it's good, but I don't know.
I forget which one is that. Which one is that the bubble world that they go into and get lost in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
would definitely say it's good. Yeah, it's definitely got elements of that for sure, or at least what I know of his sci-fi /
This is one that you guys have probably all seen. This isn't. It's not a Lovecraft story, but people call it Lovecraftian. It's Event Horizon. I just got this steelbook. I haven't even fucking seen it. I watched like 30 minutes of it a couple months ago, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just buying that steelbook that's coming out. But yeah, it's like you can mix in some Lovecraft stories with cosmic horror. They're kind of interchangeable words in a way. Yeah. Not all Lovecraft stories are cosmic horror, but most cosmic horror is Lovecraft.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically when you go beyond, right? When you go beyond the senses or whatever, what you find there is actually very horrific.
Right. Well, it's like
very beyond, like you said, we can't describe it. It's indescribable. You know what I mean? That's the point. Like, it's so horrific, but people want to reach those levels.
Yeah, it's Reanimator is breaking the barriers of death. You know what I mean? Going beyond the body's capability to stay alive. And then this is breaking the barriers of human sense. So it's even like Reanimator, to me, until I look at it that way, it doesn't seem like your typical, like what I think of when I think Lovecraft. I'm thinking tentacles. You know what I mean? Every time. Even though you do get some tentacles in Reanimator, I'm thinking cosmic stuff. But Reanimator, again, it's just about breaking a barrier. It's the same thing. That's why I say, like, just from beyond, going beyond encapsulates the idea of Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Anybody
I love it. There's enough pseudoscience just to make it believable enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, to buy in enough and just kind of take the ride.
Or even the pineal, like that is the pineal. People call it the third eye. There's even goes back to like ancient Egypt, where people think like it's important in the way that we see things. for some strange reason, it's sensitive to light. It's in the middle of our fucking brain, and it's sensitive to light. So that's why it gets the reputation of as the third eye. So I don't know. Supposedly, there's no actual scientific evidence that there was ever a third eye in any animal, and that's why it's there. But it's even like it's in birds. I don't know. It's a mysterious thing that's at the center of our humanity and like life on the planet itself that we don't really understand. And that goes for most of the brain. So it's par for the course. But we already touched on it. Of course, I want to make fun of Stu because he doesn't read in those parentheses when I say without getting into the specifics of all the shit we'll be talking about later. But Stu's already touched on most of this, but the rest of us can get into the practical effects and any favorite moments we have in the fucking movie. I'm just joking. Stu. I love you. Oh, let me say something real quick because Eric was asking. I don't know if he was joking around or not, but he says, "Wait a minute. If this is made in Italy, is it considered giallo?" Giallo speaks specifically to Italian films that are like murder mysteries is the best way to put it. There's these thriller whodunits from the 70s and 80s and 60s that's what a giallo is. So no, but thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Phable, my brother, you got any just thoughts on the practical effects? Any favorite moments from the practical effects, or even just favorite moments from the film you'd like to throw out?
I think the practical effects are very good for the budget they had. Some of it hasn't aged too well, but when he turns into a bat and he's flying,
that's the worst.
Things like that don't look so great right now. There's little things here and there, but they're so imaginative, right? It's so imaginative. It's so cool that anybody even attempted to make any of this stuff, and that you forgive it for all of that. Plus, it's kind of old, so it's okay. But I love the practical effects, and my favorite, of course, is the iconic what you get on the box. The guy with the, half his body is all, I don't know what to call it.
That's my favorite too. I think that's my favorite look in the movie. What I have is the thumbnail right there. It just looks so cool.
Yeah, and when he grabs the girl and rips off her thing, and she's naked, and he just extends his hand and he basically gropes her. I mean, it's just like such a iconic horror shot. Like, I don't know, there's just something. There's something beautiful. If it was a painting like by Mark Brooks or something, I don't know, it'd be freaking awesome. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I love the practical effects. I love that they went there, even though with time some of it hasn't aged so well. But I just love that they went there and they tried. They tried really hard and they got their point across what they were trying to do.
Hell yeah. That's one thing I love about it. Reminds me of The Flies, the way Pretorius goes through all these different stages. Yeah. And this is even more like creative than The Fly. It's just him, he's still humanoid. He's taking different forms that are radically different from his previous form. It's so inventive, like you said.
So they used to have anything to do. He had something to do with the second Fly, right? Brian used
he directed the second Fly.
Directed. Did he have anything to do with the first one?
No, I don't think so. Not that I know of.
No. Okay.
No, I don't think so.
But if you remember that second Fly, it gets. I mean, the practical effects. I mean, they're great in both of them. But it's even more over the top, and it's more reminiscent of this film in the second one. The amount of fucking goo.
Oh, yeah. The elevator thing.
Yeah.
From part 2. Wild. Yeah, that was wild.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But what about you, Steph? Just on the practical effects and all that goodness.
Oh yeah, for me, that's kind of like the highlight was the practical effects. I would be lying if I said it. I wasn't thinking of like thinking of the Host and how this was like 15, maybe 20 years before the Host, and it still looks better than the Host. And Host looks good. Don't get me wrong, but something about practical effects that I know that's an old thing, that's a worn out statement, but when are the studios going to learn, right? When are they going to learn?
It's good. I mean, it's going to be an old statement in 30 years when I'm still saying it. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to continue.
Well, I mean, just imagine if the same people that spent the last 30 years perfecting digital technology also perfected prosthetics and animatronics and robotic technology. Imagine where that would be now had they continued that path. At least a little bit, you know what I mean? I mean, we'd be on a whole nother level. Like,
well, it's just like you guys.
It just seems like, you know,
the way it ages, and also the fact that it's like so different looking. There's nothing like you can't compare that to this thing in real life and be like, oh, they had it off because they're inventing new things. It's like it's physical. It's right there. Like it's gonna age. It's gonna look just as good in 100 years. Most of it. I think the big thing is the one that you pointed out, Phable. It's that bat coming, and I think Stuart Gordon even said, like, "Oh God," in the commentary. He was kind of like, "Oh Jesus, that didn't age well." But I think they were doing something funky there. There wasn't like their standard practical effect. They were using technology that wasn't there yet, green screen type of shit or whatever.
Yeah.
But just real quick on the effects, I was gonna say, you know, there's some stuff that doesn't hold up, but for everything that doesn't hold up, there's like 3 things that do hold up, you know, like it's the type of like effects you just kind of want to take a still shot of. And it's like when my man gets evaporated by the flesh-eating bugs or whatever, you know, it's quick. You just see the dots on it, but the after effect of him just kind of, you know, like half his ribcage stomach's gone, like half muscles showing. It's, you know, it's a very visually appealing thing that you know, I can appreciate that. Because I didn't used to be like that. Like, man, CGI, it gets the job done. But as I get older, man, it's just like, man, bro.
Same, dude. I used to be like, dude, you people, like, what are you talking about? CG, we could do things we could never do before. But it's because at that point in my life, I had quit going back and revisiting these old movies. It wasn't until I started doing that I was like, oh, I see what they're talking about. This shit's great. But I've also said, I remember like being a kid in the 90s and being like, fake, and like, you know what I mean, point out that's fucking fake, but I didn't appreciate it at the time. Yes, I could still point out and say it looks fake, but now as an adult, I feel like, first of all, it's better than a lot of what we get now, and second, look at the craft, look at the art behind what's you're seeing there. But
people should have kept going with Steven Spielberg's example of the technology. Him and James Cameron, you know, both of those guys were at the forefront of creating this digital future with Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park in 92 and 93. But both of them still used as much practical effects as they possibly could. And when the digital came in, it always melded in perfectly with the practical. I mean, in Terminator 2, when those people were getting shot with bullets, you thought that was like digital silver. Those were like new kind of bullet things that they developed to look like the silver opened up. That was practical, and that blew my mind when I found that out. I thought that was digital the whole entire time. And that's the example these directors should have took forward. They got the wrong message, and not to say that computer stuff ain't great. It's awesome, but damn, when you mix in that practical, it's almost hard for the brain to perceive where the fake shit is. You know what I mean?
Right. Hell yeah, man. Well said, Stu.
Yeah, you guys have said it all already, and my bad about noticing me earlier. Dude, I love the part at the end though where Homeboy gets consumed, right, and he's trying to rip his way out like multiple times, and it's like basically like who's gonna win the battle for control of this like creature. That was one of my favorites. I loved like the worm at the beginning. I thought the worms looked great.
In the flipping around. You know what that is, dude? You know how that's done? It's they photographed or they filmed it in a fish tank. They like put, I don't know if they're actual creatures or if they're some puppeteers that they put in water and moved around, but that's what it is. They filmed that through a fish tank and then somehow superimposed the image or whatever. But
it looks great though, man. I thought those were great. And yeah, like you guys said, like it's just certain amounts of awesome that you can't get from CGI or the other stuff that practical gives you, like right up there. Up close and personal. It's just unbeatable. I agree with what Phable said about you got to blend the two, and I think like a great film is a marriage of the two. But this one was just like all in on the practical, and I felt like it really came through. Everything was wet, and not like when he got his hair eaten off. It took me a minute to figure out what was going on. I'm like, where did like they just took my man's whole scalp? All right, but like that was just there's so many random ass scenes.
I've never understood what the fuck happened to his hair. Like, it got ate off like that cleanly and that well. It wasn't a single patch. That's weird. Like
That
he
was a
should be
clean
charged.
shave, my boy.
Well,
Yeah.
then if you notice later on when he gets eaten at the end of the movie, and then he fucking Ace Ventura's his way, like Ace through a rhino's butthole out, he's got his hair back. But they say like he's like reborn. Like that's not the same. Well, he just got his head chopped off, so I guess he would have to. That's probably the bigger deal than his hair coming back, that his whole fucking head came back, I suppose. But the one that when I rewatched the movie not too long ago, the moment that I fell in love with this movie is when they rush down to the basement right after fucking Ken Foree and his fucking banana hammock and his fucking giant penis tackle Jeffrey Combs, and they get down to the basement, and that big fucking creature that's down there, like that big worm-like creature.
That was good, man.
It's just like there's something about the pacing of that moment. It's like, holy shit, like it's like it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you're like, oh, I love when movies do that, when they just get you like you're used to what they've been giving you, and then they take it beyond, and it's like it really fucking just hits you. But the other thing I wanted to point out, that creature at the end when Pretorius becomes like the final thing that he is, when he's like a body over here, then his head's over there and all that, that is the Shoggoth monster. And it's actually from another Lovecraft story called The Mountains of Madness. So they were just like fishing for ideas. Like I said, he only really gave them the first scene. The rest of it is all inventions from Stuart Gordon, Brian Usna, and Dennis Paoli, I should say, who is the dude that wrote Suitable Flesh, the movie that Steph and I talked about last week. He's the same writer from Reanimator and From Beyond, which is part of the spiritual successor. Yeah. I can't believe we haven't mentioned this one. This is fucking, I feel like this scene, or not, I feel like this scene did get cut out by the powers that be originally, and it didn't reappear until semi-recently. But when Jeffrey Combs sucks the eyeball out of Stuart Gordon's wife's head, like for the first time, that's new. Like most people, that had never been on screen before. That was cut, and nobody had ever seen that until until they put it back in, I guess. Wow. If like Phable, you might be looking at me like maybe there was a moment like where they saw him going in and they cut it, but I guess like how they linger on it or the eyeball actually hitting the floor.
I wouldn't remember if they put it in or not, but that's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, that is just fucking great to me. Sucking eyeballs out through brains is so damn good. Everything with Jeffrey Combs and the penis coming out of his fucking head when Barbara Crampton bites it and everything. It's just he's so. When he like gets taken over by, because that's part of what's going on. Like this other dimension is kind of, in a way, like possessing everybody. You know what I mean? It's making Barbara Crampton crazy. Everybody but Ken Foree is going a little bit mad from the effects of it.
Yeah.
But he looks so cool. Like once he's fully taken over, and
he has effects. It's just not their effects. He has a raging headache. He mentions that. He's like, oh man, I got a pounding headache.
Got the hard on,
and he got it. Yeah, he's hard.
It hasn't affected his judgment, I should say. It doesn't. He's kept his morality too. I love the moment where Barbara Crampton's coming on to him, and you know if he was hard before, he's hard now. And he finally like gets her. He's like, look at yourself, woman. Look at yourself in this mirror that happens to be perfectly lined up.
But even Combs maintains a lot of his sanity. I mean, it isn't until he's like freaking almost mutated, basically, right? But even through his mutation, he fights all the urges that he tries. At least he tries his hardest. He's the one that keeps wanting to turn off the machine,
right?
Turn it off.
That's why, like Jeffrey Combs says, he kept on telling Stuart Gordon, he's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "I think you should cast the main guy from Reanimator in my role." Because he's supposed to be the victim. He's the one like, whoa, hey. But I think he's such good casting, first of all, because he chews scenery so much. He's just entertaining to watch. But also, like, when he becomes the monster, he's fucking scary. Like, that's what I was going to say. That's the scary, I don't know, monster's not the right thing to call him. But for whatever reason, he's sucking fucking brains out of people's eyeball sockets. So he's kind of monstrous for sure. But,
Stuart Gordon, he had some... Oh my bad. I was just gonna say he has a weird. It was like reminded me of like Super Bad, like Jonah Hill's character and his fascination with like dick shapes. Because it's like old dude was beaten off and crazy house at the beginning. There's a dick coming out of a dude's forehead. There's dick shaped monsters. There's like dick shaped flying, other small monsters. There's like a lot of visual like penis imagery in this movie.
Phallic references everywhere, bro.
It's so funny because in the commentary, they're talking about that like right off the bat in the opening scene. And the neighbor lady with all the curlers in her hair is walking in, and they're like, "Look at all those penises right there." And I'm like, "Damn, this is what I'm saying. Everyone's seeing penises everywhere, and I'm never like noticing it." The fucking this is how like I never picked up on that. This is like a phallic image. Let me just pull myself up. It's like the most obvious phallic image in the history of horror.
Oh yeah,
the driller killer from Slumber Party Massacre. It's like like the whole movie.
Who wants it first?
Whoa, it's like for some reason I'm like, I don't know. It just never dawns on me when these dicks, when these things are supposed to represent whatever.
But that's one of the themes. I mean, especially in like this kind of stuff, and like Hellraiser is like, it's like pain is pleasure, right? So you know, there's this like relationship between just like disgusting shit, but at the same time like fleshy. I don't know, sexually phallic. You know what I mean? Like you guys are saying, like there's this connection. That's a theme in these kind of movies. Like,
well, plus I think these filmmakers, in the way, like the reason why artists and stuff put so many of these phallic images in is because they know it's effective. Even if I'm not noticing that's what it's supposed to be, somewhere in my brain I am, and it's still affecting me the way that a penis should affect me, if you know what I'm talking about. But all right, let's move on. I think we hit them all, man. So is there, before we get into a grade, is there anything that I missed? Anything you guys want to point out? Any fucking Stu's searching around like something?
I feel like I'm forgetting something. Yeah, I feel like there's something I wanted to mention, but I don't know.
That's quite all right.
Skull fight at the end with the two skulls on the floor. He bites it.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. I think Lynk kind of mentioned it when their two faces are like pulling apart. I think that's what it is. There's a moment where there's just a lot going on, but that is really cool looking.
Yo, I just wanted to shout out the Barbara Crampton lingerie. Yo, real quick, Ken, what's his face? It was kind of jarring because he plays such a sleazebag sometimes in other roles that I've seen him. In this movie, people are doing a little S&M bondage shit, and he's like, "What kinky shit is this? Like, are you vanilla motherfucker?" Then it's like he's turning down Barbara Crampton and shit. I mean, understandable, but I probably would have risked it for the biscuit. But
he was playing asleep on the bed too. Like, come on, bro, give me a break. Like that man was wide awake.
Where he's like, you're supposed to be getting dressed. And she's like, I did, and I'm like, yeah.
It's kind of funny how similar his role is in Dawn of the Dead. In Dawn of the Dead, at one point, it's him and a couple.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we have going on in this. And he cooks for them too. And he's serving them food, which just because he's black and everybody else is white, just feel a little bit fucking uncomfortable. I'm not going to fucking lie. There is like something kind of fucking weird about that, but he sells it. He looks like he's having fun in both movies. So whatever. All right, let's just do this thing. Mr. Phable, anybody down in the chat, if you've seen From Beyond, go ahead and put your letter grades down below. Phable, final thoughts, letter grade, my friend.
Final thoughts. I like Stuart Gordon a lot. I think Stuart Gordon is a guy that probably needed more money, and he would have probably gave us, like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of his movies, sort of, that's the weakness. Even though we love it, we love the practical effects in these movies. And you know, he made another movie called Robot Jocks. I don't know if you guys ever seen Robot Jocks.
Heard of that one, but
go check out Robot Jocks. It's a nice little sci-fi movie that. Also, he's reaching for the stars, but maybe just doesn't have the money to do what he's trying to do. But he still makes it work in the same way he makes it work in these movies. So yeah, I give him a lot of respect. And like I said, I think this movie is one of the most successful movies at relaying Lovecraftian themes and horrors in a nice 1 hour and 20-minute movie that doesn't fucking have to.
Yeah, very true, bro.
You know what I mean?
True.
Blow your brain out of the water and shit like that. You get it.
It's a lot. It's a lot to digest sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on, but yet totally digestible. So I give 100% props for that. I'm gonna give this one. This is tough. It's tough. I'll give it a B plus, man.
Boom.
B+.
Hell yeah. B
Nice.
plus from Mr. Just because I'm thinking about it, because we're talking about other Stuart Gordon movies. I wanted to recommend checking out Castle Freak because it's the only other time that he got together with Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. And they did another movie, which is it's actually an Edgar Allan Poe adaptation. Stu, I know you're a big fan of him. It's cool. It's on Shudder, and it looks like dog shit, man. I felt like I was in like 1986 watching a shitty TV, looking at this thing. It's I've never seen a movie more in need of a remastering than that, but it was good. It's not as good as this, and it's not as good as Reanimator. It's a step down, and they did it in '95 with seems about $95 to make the thing, but it's cool. Like it's pretty.
What's
solid.
it called again?
Castle Freak.
Okay,
and
let's check it out.
I mean, it does what Stuart Gordon does, where he goes over the top. Like he likes to go for it. There's no less is more for him. There's a quote that they kept saying in the commentary that more is not enough, and it's like that's a good fucking quote. More is not enough. What about more? Nope, not enough. I'll give you more. No, it's not enough. Give me more. It's like, well, fuck. Like I like that idea. It's like you're never gonna satisfy it. More is never enough. But hell yeah, man. Link, what about you, brother?
All right. This film, it's got madness. It's got sexiness.
Mm-hmm.
And when you combine the two, you get greatness.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I gotta question myself, man. I don't know. These last couple like Suitable Flesh, and this is not necessarily in my my realm, but I find myself enjoying these sexy, crazy romps.
Right.
A little bit more sexy, but that's just had enough. What it lacked sexiness and from beyond is Barbara Crampton made up for it in that lingerie.
We didn't get any saxophones and like that we got in Suitable Flesh, but
no, he said it earlier. She's a total babe, man.
Yeah, and those eyes, man.
Yes,
and we can talk about her body and all day long, but her eyes is what makes her just gorgeous on another level. And she is a solid actor, and I love that.
Yeah,
she got a chance to come off of Reanimator, where she basically just plays the girlfriend into like the lead of the movie, and just like the. As good as she is, and we can't leave this review just because it's on my mind without mentioning her smile at the end. That laugh and that smile at the very end of the movie,
good, dude.
So iconic. Like this is one of those things. Like I can't believe I haven't grown up seeing that image. Like why isn't that a meme? Why isn't that a GIF? Like that's so. You're not going to see a more maniacal, crazy laugh than you get right there on a hot.
Dude, I rewound that like 3 times and watched it over. That was fantastic. It's such a great ending to the movie, and I love that like freeze frame that they choose to like capture and end it on. It was so perfect.
Hell yeah, man! But sorry, where were we at, Steph?
Oh no, yeah, it's like I said, it's combine those two things, you get greatness, and it's just it's a charming film. You can feel the fun. Through the actors, you can tell everyone was inspired to make this, and it shines through. So, that being said, I think I gave Suitable Flesh a B. I like that one just a little bit more, but I'll also give this one a solid B. I'll give this one a solid B with room for improvement. But yeah, very, very good film.
Hell yeah, brother. I love to hear it. Mr. Stu, staying late at work. For the cause. Appreciate you, brother.
For the squad. I got to go with my boy Phable, man. I got to double down and do a B+ because it's so great and it's almost an A on so many levels. There's a few things lacking, but there's so many things I enjoyed about this. Great individual performances, great special effects, a solid story all told, and just a great 80s crazy ass other dimension type of monster flick, man. I think this has definitely got rewatchability. After seeing it for my first time now, but yeah, I loved it. It's not like super top tier, but it's nothing to sneeze at. So I'm gonna go with my boy Phable and do a B+ as well. I think that's a appropriate grade.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. I love it. I will go just a smidge above because I do fucking love this thing. I'll go with an A- because it's not. You're right. It's flawed. It's not fucking perfect. There's shortcuts that are taken. And it is, even though as much as I like the acting, and I think it is very impressive to be able to pull off this style of acting. Yeah. It's not, you're right. It's not like Oscar-winning performances and all that.
I mean, it's they call these
It's a
B
solid
movies.
film.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of B movies are not B movies. There's Z movies, D movies.
right. And this is one.
Facts.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
this is the highest form of B movie. This is it. This is the pinnacle of that kind of thing.
Exactly, and that's kind of why I feel good about the grade A minus, or that we're all, you know, we're all high up there. B pluses, B's.
Hell yeah.
It's because
I was gonna say
when
you
you're,
guys up here justifying high grades, and I gave it a B. I'm up here. I'm like, damn, bro, did I mark it low? You know,
No,
yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
a
the perfect
grade.
hit. That's B.
B
man.
to me is a good
Yeah,
movie. Two Gun,
absolutely.
give it an A minus. Enjoy this
There
film
you
a lot,
go.
even with the flaws.
Oh yeah. there you
I mean,
go.
that's what it is. There's
I was
like,
teetering on A minus, B
Right.
plus. But I'm gonna do B plus because, you know, it is in top tier, but I love it. Still
Right.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but there's all these like different like categories. It's like for 80s cheese,
Right.
it is top tier. For Lovecraft, it's top tier. For practical effects, it's top tier. This is one of the best practical
Absolutely.
I say
effects
top tier,
movies
yeah.
ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, it's in the top 10. There's better. It's not The Thing. They talk a lot about like before they did Reanimator, Stuart Gordon and Brian Hughes and sat, and they for like 3 weeks they just rented like 10 movies a week. They got together, they watched them all, and they're making notes and they're trying to outdo everything, which I just love that attitude. Like
Right.
what they're trying to go beyond what they've done in all these other horror movies, and that's why Reanimator is unrated. And that's why the MPA fucking hates Stuart Gordon, because he didn't even let him rate it. He's like, fuck you guys. He went around them. He made a boatload of money. So then when they went to do From Beyond, they're like, fuck you. And the MPA was like really, really hard on him. And they cut out a bunch of shit that he said they wouldn't have normally cut out. But it's just, and it's the whole idea. Like this thing was filmed on a shoestring budget. The music is great. The lighting, like how many movies have this cool of lighting? Like there's this and there's Suspiria. Like as far as movies that you're like, it's just a color. It's like, I don't know.
The color,
There's just like, it's probably very difficult to light a movie this well and to do it because you don't see very many movies that are like, wow, the whole fucking movie was pink and purple. Not the whole movie, but anytime the effects went on, it reminds me of like Guardians of the Galaxy. But I'll give it an A minus, man. What did I want to say? Oh, I was just looking at a couple fun facts that I wrote down before we get out of here. Oh, this is the entire thing was shot in studio. So they built a studio over there. When they went over to Italy, they built this house and they had a studio and they filmed dolls in it first, tore everything down or did like redesigned that house and then filmed From Beyond, but released From Beyond first, which is kind of cool. They shot dolls in January. They took a month off and then they shot From Beyond. Maybe it was December that they shot dolls. So they were rolling. They had the same crew, not all the same actors, but the same people with them. And it was, you could see like they were in rhythm. They had, you know what I mean? They were living that Rome life over there. But speaking of, this is another thing that I just thought was funny. From the first scene, and he didn't tell anybody what he was doing, Stuart Gordon just said, Accione. And I guess he said Accione for every take the entire time that they were over in Italy, and he never gave it up. And he loved the fact that directors over there are called Maestro, so he just loved that everyone was coming up to him calling him Maestro, and he's like, yes, I am the Maestro. But hell yeah, man, let me go ahead and bring out my little slideshow here so we can pump some things and we can get out of Dodge. I appreciate all you fellas in the chat with us tonight. And like I said at the beginning of this thing, go check out these flicks. Fantastic episode that Steph and I did last Sunday, Suitable Flesh, and It Comes at Night. Next week, it's going to be rocking Robbie Billups and rocking Phable McFableston, talking Jacob's Ladder. This is going to be a good one. This should be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys can explain to me what the fuck is going on in this movie. And then the following week, we will be capping off March Madness with Black Swan. I said it before. This is one of the best movies that I've had a chance to cover so far on the channel. I think it's been a while since I've seen it, so hopefully I still feel
it's such a perfect pick for March Madness too.
Thank you, my friend. I felt good about it.
Yeah.
So this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, #blame Phable and his amazing friends with Fire Guy Ryan as the guest.
Hell yeah.
Tell the people about it, Mr. Phable.
Oh yeah, come join us on One Collection Down YouTube channel for another episode of Playing Fable's Amazing Friends with Nick Comic Culture and Dr. Doom's Fan Club. My brother Stu. Damn, I gotta find out how to turn this shit off.
Hell no, dude. I love that shit.
We were stuck with the mystery the mystery guest for so long. We gotta celebrate it now, bro.
But yeah, come join us this Friday, man. We're gonna hang out, talk to my brother Fire Guy Ryan. Of course, you know he wrote a book with Comic Tom called Crash Down. Last time we spoke to Fire Guy Ryan, we were on IG. You know, we weren't on YouTube. And Crash Down hadn't come out yet. It had just hit FOC. So now we're, in the eve of issue 3, and we are on YouTube now. So this is gonna be a great catch up. So come hang out.
Oh yeah.
Friday, 9 p.m.
Hell
Eastern.
yeah, brother.
With my brother Nick, Stu, brother Joe, and of course, whoever pops up from the PCP Army, man. We always have love to have a good time, man.
Booyah. Who else loves to have a good time? Stu and Steph. Last night with John's Comics with Kids. Tell the people about it. It was a good show, man. I'm going to go ahead and say it was a great show. I love John, so it was great.
It was. John just elevates it. Yeah, John elevates it so much more, but yeah, we went over Ultimate X-Men, Peach Momoko, and Void Rival. The Return of Void Rivals with number 7. But the best part of the show was Bendis and David Finch's and Steve McNiven's New Avengers run, going over that with John and just that immortal time, 2004 and Marvel history. But yeah, we're back next Tuesday night, I believe, with Chris from Lost in Comics. So y'all check us out over in the Dr. Doom Film Club 9:30. Yeah, I can't wait for that show. It's gonna be amazing.
Hell yeah, man. No, that'll be great, dude.
Yeah, Chris is awesome.
I just want to say I personally believe I always do elevated work in anything I do, but yesterday was a fantastic episode.
Amen, brother. Amen, Station.
True. That's the thing about being elevated. You can just keep going. It can be more and more and more until you get beyond.
More is not enough.
Yeah,
more is not
exactly.
enough.
And again,
there you go.
By the way, next Thursday we'll be at the regular time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thursday night, right here on Blood Splatter Chatter, talking Jacob's Ladder for the penultimate discussion for March Madness. So hell yeah, man! I appreciate the shit out of all you guys out there, all you guys in the chat. You guys are the absolute best. The first thing I'm gonna do after the show, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna make you a moderator. I'm gonna give you a wrench. Nick, I saw you asking for a wrench. You're probably gone by now. You'll get a wrench. I don't know how to do it during the show. I know how to do it.
I gotta give out some wrenches.
Yeah, I was about to say, go teach Stu how to give wrenches.
Yeah, I noticed I ain't got no fucking wrench on your show. But then again, I
kind of like using it as like a you have to earn it type deal. Like I'm just gonna haze people for it. You know what I mean? Like give me some money first, and then you can get a little.
I would just start taking them away. Fuck that.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, start taking those things away. All right, Jacob's Ladder next Thursday. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
That will be quite an